Everybody at the moment. Milena is admitting everybody to the call. We wait a few moments until we have everybody in, and then the embassy will kick off. Yes, so please have a little bit of patience still.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Philip. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Is it raining in Warsaw?
No, it's not raining.
It's not.
It's not. It's not.
Ah.
Just for your information, we're admitting everybody at the moment.
Yes.
And still needs a few more moments before we will kick off. Yes.
No problem. You know, I have all time of the world.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, I put off my mic.
Okay, Martin, shall we kick off?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Elro. So, ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to this webinar on behalf of the Embassy and the Netherlands-Polish Chamber of Commerce. It's actually very good to see such a large group of participants today. I think compared to the other webinars we did, we actually have a large number today. Welcome on behalf of the Agricultural Councillor, specifically, whom I was asked to replace last minute. I hope you and all your close ones are in good health. As you know, also for the embassy, and I think for a lot of other organizations, the Corona crisis caused an abrupt end to all the physical activities we did. That's why in March, together with the Chamber of Commerce, we started to organize this series of webinars, and today's webinar is one of them. So far, I think I can say the webinars have been a success. We have organized them on a broad range of topics, from e-mobility through renewable energy to water retention and drought. So today that's exactly the topic we are going to focus on. So specifically drought in agriculture. It's actually a follow-up to an earlier webinar on water retention, which was attended by a large group of Dutch and Polish stakeholders from the water sector and also agricultural sector. And we felt that this time we should specifically focus on agriculture, as agriculture is a very important sector for both of our countries. We are actually both more or less confronted with the same challenges. Like rainfall is less and less each year. Farmers have big problems to have the same yields. Temperature is fluctuating, and so both of our countries have to find solutions. And we think that today's webinar can really serve as a, let's say, as a platform to share our experiences so far, and to exchange best practices. I also would like to say that this is one of the first, let's say, meetings we have on this topic. So we really hope that this is not just a one-off activity, but that in the future we will think of some follow-up. I would also like to invite all of you to let the embassy know, and the Chamber of Commerce as well, in case that you have some ideas how we could actually create some follow-up. Today, it's more about information exchange, but hopefully in the future, also when physical events are possible again, we hope to organize some activities which can really create some starting point for cooperation in real life. So thank you very much for participating in this seminar, and especially I would like to thank all the speakers from both Poland and the Netherlands that they took the time to participate in today's event. And also a big thanks to of course to our own agricultural team and the team of ELRO, of the Chamber of Commerce, for organizing this activity. So thank you.
Thank you, Martin, for that introduction. A few practical remarks before we go to the first speakers from my side. We like to have an open discussion with all the participants, and therefore we also chose this format where we can see each other, where we can see each other's faces. So as soon as a presentation is finished, I would like to request the speakers as well to turn off the presentation for others to start the next presentation, but also to see each other's and make room for remarks. The webinar of today is recorded, so please take notice of that. And if you have any questions during the presentations, please use the comments to put questions there, and then we can gather the questions that are popping up during the presentations. The agenda for today is as follows. We start with a presentation by Mr. Shibilet, Senior Research Analyst of the Institute of Soil Cultivation in Puławy, followed up by Waldemar Treder, Professor of the Institute of Horticulture in Poland. After that, we have a presentation of Mrs. Katarzyna Delis-Selong, specialist in the Department of Water Management of the Ministry of Maritime Economy. After that, we have a presentation of Jasper Dalhuizen. He is the coordinator of foreign policy at the Ministry of Agriculture in the Netherlands. And after that, we have Tine de Winkel. She is water availability expert at the Acacia Water Fund. After that, Waldemar Treder and Mr. Grzegorz Sibilic will round everything up in a session where we try to find some solutions to the problems that have been presented earlier. Each presentation, and that's also a message to the presenters, will take 10 minutes. So please don't get too upset if I make some remarks if you are close to the 10 minutes. But we really try to manage the time as well, because we have a lot of content today that we want to share. We have a lot of good speakers, but we also have to manage the time a little bit to make sure that we reach the end of the meeting on time, while everything has been discussed that we wanted to discuss. Yes. The final presentation finishes at 11:10. And after that, there's time for questions and answers. So I would like to start with the first presentation by Dr. Grzegorz Sibilic. Sorry for making mistakes in the Polish names. That can happen when you have a Dutch background, of the Institute of Soil Cultivation. So, Mr. Sibilic, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Please confirm that my presentation is...
Yes, we can see it, yes.
Okay, you can see it. Okay, thank you. So I'll put run slides. Okay, so thank you for invitation. Such spontaneous meetings sometimes are more interesting than usual. usual meetings. The content indeed looks very exciting. So thank you again for inviting me, and I hope this is also a start for for a more strong exchange between all partners involved. Today, I'm leading the soil science department at the Institute of Soil Science and Plant Cultivation in Puławy. We are a state research institute supporting Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, and practically we are responsible for most of soil issues in terms of science and decision support also. So this year is indeed different than most of previous years. So we do not have strong drought this year. This is probably very good because to have COVID and drought would be too much for everybody, I guess. But the drought is indeed quite severe problem for Polish agriculture. I will try to speak to present what is the soil status and what soil problems are most important in Poland and how it affects drought or resistance or susceptibility to drought, and how we see counteracting these problems, especially through soil management. So I hope this is interesting to you. First of all, the soils are very diverse in Poland. This is kind of mosaic of soils at national, regional, and even local level. I show the map of land valorization. This is special indicator which is mostly based on soil quality with some less important components on climate, moisture, and relief. So as you can see, even in each region there is quite the diversity, and this valorization indicator is related mainly with soil textures, and which also drives the agricultural susceptibility to drought. So texture, of course, results from type of parent rock. In Poland, it was mainly sandy rocks. And texture has significant impact on production potential, on occurrence of drought, nutrient migration, contaminant migration. Of course, farmer has no influence on soil texture, but should adapt his practices, and especially crops to conditions, since crops differ in requirements to nutrients and water also. We have a system of drought monitoring in Poland. This is a national system financed by the Ministry of Agriculture, and we are leading this system. And it is designed to indicate areas with significant yield reduction due to drought. And such areas are indicated at the level of gmina, which is a very local administration level. And according to this regulation, drought means occurrence of a climatic water balance below a specific critical value, which is assigned to groups of crops or individual crops, and also soil categories that resulting from soil texture. So, and this climatic water balance indicator is a difference between precipitation and potential evapotranspiration. And for this we use the data from meteorological stations for precipitation, and some model to calculate evapotranspiration, also soil agricultural map in a 1 to 25,000 scale to take soil texture into account. We also do some validation through real soil moisture measurements, and also implemented some satellite data to optimize and validate the system, especially crop response. And this is the map.
Sorry to interrupt. There are 4 minutes left.
Okay, so this is soil map, and the network of meteor stations we use to interpolate precipitation data. And this is just a selection of long-term data on occurrence of drought just for specific plants that need irrigation. And this is the number of years within 11 years period where drought was recorded. So in some regions, there are even 10 years, so every year it was reported. What are main soil degradation threats in Poland? So this is erosion, decline of organic matter, acidity, and soil sealing, which is related to urbanization. We do not talk about this today. Very locally, contamination, compaction, salinization. Organic matter in Poland. So this is also diversity. Of course, it has an effect on drought because of water holding capacity of organic matter. So there is also the diversity in Poland. That central part of Poland is low content of organic matter. When we connect this with also lower precipitation or negative climatic water balance, which is shown on the bottom, it shows a very difficult situation in these central regions where with low precipitation, organic matter is less accumulated, and also it makes more susceptibility to drought. There are many regions with no manure because there is some regions animal production was declined and crop production is a major sector, but it doesn't mean that it must result in a strong decline of organic matter in soil. We show here the data from Dolnośląskie region, where we observed, it is shown in the graph on the bottom, in most of soils with low initial content, we observed increase of organic matter even with declining manure application, because within 50 years, because this is because yields generally increased quite dramatically, and plant residues left in soil also increased. So the total input.
1 more minute.
Yeah. So lack of manure doesn't mean disaster with soil organic matter. What we try to share with farmers also is that susceptibility to drought can be reduced through proper soil management and taking care of major soil function, major soil properties like soil organic matter, because sustaining organic matter in soil means improved retention, positive effect on soil structure, higher compaction resistance, so we limit, we reduce the runoff of water, stimulation of microorganisms. Very important is protection of organic soils that has great capacity to retain water and impact on local climate. Soil pH is a problem, and this is also connected with resistance to drought. Unfortunately, most of Polish soils is acidic. This is natural problem, but also with some soils have not been limed sufficiently. Our ministry implemented a program of financial support to liming recently, so the situation will improve. Of course, pH management is also important to drought resistance because we improve through liming, we improve soil structure, so permeability and water retention is better. We improve plant resistance to water stress. Soil structure is another parameter.
Mr. Shibilic, we are running out of time.
Okay.
So there's also a session at the end of all the presentations where you present together with Mr. Trader. So then there's maybe a bit more time to explain on the topics. And also what I would like to tell the audience is that the presentations of all the presenters are sent to everybody's emails, yes? So, yes, is there maybe one final word? And then I would like to finish off.
Okay, so to summarize this part, in the light of drought, the problem is related to light texture, mostly in Poland, the relatively low soil organic matter, and also acidity. And how we see counteracting drought problems? It can be a range of measures, including compensation payments, which is done in Poland based on our monitoring program, sustainable irrigation. There is also a program to support some irrigation installations, building small retention, and what I presented minutes ago, increasing capacity of soil to retain water.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Shibilic, for that interesting presentation. For sure, there will come some more questions later. If you could turn off the presentation.
Yes.
In the meantime, I have a question to all the participants to turn off their audio, especially to Mr. Eike Roelevink, because there was some interference during the presentation. I would like to give the floor now to Professor Waldemar Trader for the Institute of Horticulture in Poland. Please take the floor.
Thank you. I'm ready. I can start?
Yes, please.
Yes. You know, in the last years in Poland, we observed more frequent droughts. It was 2015, 2018, 2018, and now it's raining. You know, it's quite a good situation. But the drought is not new for Poland. Professor Biedrzycki already in 1912 published the book "The Fight Against Droughts." You know that, for example, in horticulture, in agriculture, we know that the drought is a problem, and we have about 2-3 years we have drought. I would like to show you the climatic water balance for growing season. It is a balance between a sum of rainfall and relation to potential evapotranspiration. That, you know, but it is average balance for years 1950 to 1980. You know, in central part of Poland, we have, of course, the negative. The balance is huge. Close to Poznan is about 160 millimeters. It is 1,600 cubic meter per hectare per year. Unfortunately, in this region, we grow vegetables and fruits. This is our problem. But you know, it was past. But what is now? In the last year, extremely strong drought was in Poland, in Lubusz province, in Great Poland. What the climatic water balance was minus 270, 280 millimeters. You know, quite higher. Of course, it is interesting that in central part of North Pomerania, in normal is a lot of rain. Last year was nothing. For 2 months, from June to July, the climatic water balance was minus 200 millimeters. That is strange for us. You know, what about climate changes? In Skierniewice, we start recording temperature from 1921. And you can see the rise in temperature since the 18th. You know, it's going drastically up, and in 2015, 18, and 19, the average annual temperature was higher than 10 degrees. 50 years ago was 8.4 degrees. That after our calculation, the increase in average annual air temperature about 1 degree Celsius causes an increase in water demand by approximately 70 millimeters. You know, that is our problem. I would like to show you Gauss-Walter climate diagram. It is diagram is graphical comparison of mean temperature and precipitation that in special proportion that will have yellow yellow color is showing drought period for us, and blue of course is climatic water balance is positive. I would like to show you variability of our climate for 99 years in Skierniewice. It is from Skierniewice. I prepared animated graph. I would show you was in the 1921 was very strong drought, you know, a lot of yellow color, and we start the presentation, you know, the variability. This is a problem for our farmers. When farmers decide in the last year that start with irrigation, they will invest money. In this year, there's a lot of rain and stop this activity. This is the main problem, the variability. Of course, I can show you some interesting years. For example, the last year in Skierniewice, the drought was strong, but when we can compare this, the year to 2015 was a horrible drought in Skierniewice, of course. But for example, years 2011, you know, the summer, very rainy summer. Of course, this is our problem, variability. That, but how drought affect the production of vegetables and fruits is an example for raspberries. You know, in 2015 was drought that drastically yields go down, and about 30% less raspberries on the market. Of course, for the farmers who has irrigation, it was good because the prices are growing up, but the drought reduced the stability of the supply of our fruits to European market. Our smaller supply caused increase the activity of our competitors. This is a very big problem for us. Why was so decrease of yield? Because the largest concentration of raspberry cultivation is in the Lublin region. They have heavy soils. You know, the problem of lack of water is not so, so it was not so important in this time, but after 2015, the farmers know that they have stable crops, they need to irrigate. They start look for the water. This is a problem. We don't have infrastructure in this region. We don't have reservoirs, open canals that the farmers began drill deep wells. For small farming, it's very expensive. And in our condition, we have to wait for water permit, sometimes more than 2 years. You know, this is a problem. We should irrigate vegetables, fruits this example how affect irrigation for blueberry in Poland. For example, this is my results of my experiments. You know, in 2015, irrigation increased the yield 6 times comparing to non-irrigated plots. 6 times, you know, that this without irrigation is impossible produce, for example, blueberry in Polish conditions. 100% of our plantations, they have irrigation. Watch, this is without irrigation yield from some shrubs was like that.
Mr. Trader, 2 more minutes.
What is effectivity of drip irrigation? For example, blue water, we need about 180 liters per kilogram for 1 kilogram of blueberry. With strawberry, it is with sprinkler irrigation more than 200, but with drip irrigation only 160, similar to blueberry. That with drip irrigation, we can save more than 70% of water. That is, we know that only drip irrigation for our farmers, but it's the problem of irrigation water sources. We are using groundwater, you know. Why? Because we don't have reservoirs with water. For example, an average precipitation is 600 millimeter in central Poland, 500. In reservoirs, we have only 6 millimeter of water. The second problem is manually control of irrigation system. The picture is from farm, but farmer has a 600 of blueberry plantation. Every plants are irrigated, fertigated, but with manual control. And irrigation scheduling in practice, this is a second problem, because most our farmers make the decision to start irrigation is based on own subjective opinion. This is our problem. In Poland, we are talking by eye, na oko, that we want to change it. Thank you very much. I think 30 seconds.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Trader. This was indeed an interesting presentation, but also within the time limits, and that is very much appreciated. Later on, we will come back to you with the roundup of the topic together with Mr. Szybilic. But right now, I would like to give the floor to Mrs. Katarzyna Delis-Szelong, specialist in the Department of Water Management from the Ministry of Maritime Economy. And let me check, I also see, before we go to you, Mrs. Katarzyna, I would like to ask Leo Pot, but also Edo Oldenziel and Mr. Eike to turn off the microphones, so to not interfere with the presentations. Thank you very much. Ms. Katarzyna, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Do you hear me? Can I check?
Yes, it's very loud and clear.
Okay, so let me share the screen again. And could you confirm if my presentation is visible?
Yes, it's visible indeed.
It's visible, yes? Okay, so thank you very much for inviting Ministry of Maritime Economy and Inland Navigation to join the meeting. And I would like to shortly present the initiatives and priorities of Polish government in order to address the problem of droughts and water scarcity in Poland. And I will shortly describe listed activities, and then for discussion, my colleague Michał Dudek will join us to answer the question. And for the start, let's see the plan of my presentation. I will share with you the background of Polish policy in Poland. The policy in Poland is the water policy in Poland is influenced by the volume of water resources, which is low, and as well the the water retention is low, and we experience the problems of droughts from the one side and floods from the other side. The other determinant which influence the water policy in Poland is our membership in the European Union. So the legislative initiatives are mainly addressed to implement the policy of water of the European Union. Okay, let me go further. You should see now the background of water policy in Poland on your screen. May I check if it's...
Yes, we can completely follow you, Ms. Katarzyna. It's very visible.
Okay.
We can follow you.
So the volume of the Polish water resources is about 1,600 cubic meter per person per year, which is very low, as I said. It's comparable to the water resources in such dry countries like Egypt. And the other problem is that also the water retention is only about 6% of the all precipitation, which is not enough to cover all the needs of the water management of the water users. And Poland experienced two extremum of the water problems, which is droughts and floods. And the above problems are influenced by the Polish topography, with mountains on the south and sea on the north. Also the unevenly distributed precipitation due to the Poland's surface, and the geographical location of Poland in the middle of the land, which is far from the ocean. On the top of this, the climate change also make the problem worse, which is snowless winters, heavy rains, and meteorological drought. As I said, politically, water policy is determined by the membership of Poland in European Union. So we implement the water framework directive, floods directives, and other EU directives. And this also require us to prepare the planning documents like river basin management plans, flood risk management plans, and other plans, which I will tell you right away in a minute. And in order to be able to effectively counteract the effect of droughts and flood, it is necessary to act complementary, which means to carry out the technical and non-technical activities. And the Polish government includes such activities like creation of the planning documents regarding the Water Framework Directive and EU policy, investments, legislative initiatives, and other initiatives like water partnership, where all the interested parties can act jointly. And the list contains 6 of such activities, which I would like to share here. As you can see, the priority is investments, plans, water prevention, water scarcity prevention program, water resources shaping program, water partnerships, and legislative initiatives. And we start with the first of the listed priorities. Investment program in the scope of improving quality and limiting losses of water intended for human consumption. The main objective of this investment program is to identify investment needs and action related to fulfill the obligation under the directive of the quality of water intended to, for human consumption, and the planet entered into force of the new directive on the quality of water intended for human consumption. The development of the program will identify priorities areas and investments that should reduce water losses in the water supply system and increase the availability of drinking water for the population. The program will allow the co-financing of investments from EU funds. The presentation show another slides about the program, which I include here for those who are interested to have the closer insights. But I will, so we can see the program scope, the main goals, the schedule of program for the next 3 quarters, 2020-2021. But I will go forward and...
Ms. Katarzyna, 3 more minutes.
3 more, okay. So the other activity of Polish government is the plan to prevent the effects of droughts in the river basin districts. And this is the it is a comprehensive planning document containing activities aimed at counteracting the effect of droughts. This project results from also from implementation of the Water Framework Directive in Poland, and it consists the response of Polish government to the problem of drought. The integral part of the plan is the annexes, which contains information about planned investment and activities. So we, under the plan, we are planning the investments to increase the water retention, and in the big scale and small scale and micro scale. For example, we plan to construct multifunctional water reservoirs, which is a big scale water retention, and as well as reconstruction of small water retention facilities and increasing lake and river basin retention. And another Polish government activity is a water scarcity prevention program. It is a part of the plan against the droughts. And the idea of this project is to intensify activities which will increase the degree of water retention in our country. Then another very interesting activity is water resources shaping program. This activity aims to improve the retention capacity of water courses and drainage facilities. The application of the program solution has a positive impact on the water balance in the given area, local area, with relatively low cost, and it is implemented under the Stop the Drought program. And here you can see the water retention progress, which we would like to achieve by implementing all the above activities I already told you. And the last 2 my activities which I would like to share with you is water partnership. This is very interesting joint initiative of Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Maritime Economy and Inland Navigation and State Water Holding Polish Waters. This activity aims at the cooperation between all interested parties, catchment boards, water supervision with municipal government units, water companies, and other stakeholders in order to develop the best standards for action to minimize the effect of droughts. And last but not least, the legislative initiatives. Of course, the main water act in Poland is water law. This act ensured the implementation of EU policy and introduced the Basin water management system in Poland and sets the environmental goals for good quantitative and qualitative status of water resources in Poland. And right now also Polish government are working on the drafting an act on investment in the fields of droughts effects prevention. So again, investments. And if I have one more minute, the main purpose of this act is to introduce a catalog of solutions to mitigate the effect of droughts, and it will simplify the procedures enforced and implementation of tasks that increase retention. And this act also will change some provision of other related law provision in Poland. So briefly, that's it. I hope that I manage in time.
Yeah, thank you very much. That you managed very well. Yes. And I would like to mention to the participants as well. I saw that there are some farmers in the call as well. And they have maybe some specific questions towards you, Mrs. Katarzyna, regarding the priority actions of the government, the plans that are in place, and maybe some questions, some remarks. I would like to ask them to put that in the comments and come back later, because you are available for question, or Mr. Michał is with you, yes?
Yes. I hope.
Okay, good. Well, then my question is if you could turn off the presentation, please. Okay. And then I would like to give the floor to Mr. Dalhuizen. He's the coordinator of the foreign policy of the Ministry of Agriculture. Milena has the presentation ready for Mr. Dalhuizen. And I would say the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for this presentation. I'm working at the European International and Agroeconomic Department of the Ministry of Agriculture, Nature and Food Quality in the Netherlands. I make a presentation together with Ms. Tine ten Winkel, and I will present very short because I think the presentation of Mr. Tine ten Winkel is very interesting because it's more practical and for the audience. What I will going to do is give you a short introduction about the drought situation in the Netherlands, and then I will move on to how we deal with the different actors, how we communicate with them. And I will tell some very short policy responses, but I'm available for other questions or detailed questions, but please ask me afterwards because the benefits will be much bigger. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, this is the current situation in the Netherlands. It is in the Dutch graph, sorry for that. But what you can see here is the very actual data that come from the Meteorological Institute. On you see the month below, and you can see the precipitation deficit. You can see that it starts in April and then it goes to the winter, it goes down. The red line is the worst year in the Netherlands, which was the year 1976. But you can see that 2018 was already a very difficult situation in the Netherlands. And this year, which is the black line, is already a very problematic year. So we could expect that the drought situation is continuing. So this is a very interesting to see. We have droughts, very detailed data. It's an average of 13 stations in the Netherlands. Can you go to the next slide, please? Here you can see the different situations in the Netherlands, the different regional situations. And last year, it was very interesting to say that the farmers' incomes in 2018, the publication came in 2019, but it reports about the situation in 2018. You can see huge regional differences in the Netherlands. There's almost no blue color in this picture, and this is what is happening now. It's still a very difficult situation of the precipitation deficit. And the incomes, this also results in farmers' incomes. And you can see the regional differences that in some parts of the Netherlands, the precipitation deficit is not very big, and it results in higher income than even in parts of the Netherlands where the incomes are really low. So this is really influences the income, the agricultural sector. But another thing which you have to say is that we are a very small country. There are many actors competing about water. We have also drinking water sector, but also the agricultural sector. So different actors involved in the water management system has to deal with a lot of competition and a lot of demand for water. So this is really not a very good situation now in the Netherlands. So can you go to the next slide, please? After the drought of 2018, the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water initiate the policy roundtable with all actors involved. What should we do on the water dealing with the drought? So this is a very thick report. I can thank you the executive summary, but there are various recommendations from and the policy roundtable by the ministry, but the drinking water sector, but also representatives of the farmers organizations. So this is really the Dutch way of dealing, trying to find a compromise. But what kind of various recommendations? They have better water storage, which is really a problem. We have a lot of water, but we should store it as well. And land and water reuse, which is climate resistant, but there are parts of the Netherlands which is quite difficult. You see the soil differences, and the north and the south of the Netherlands are quite different. Also, the future-proof drinking water system, and that means we have water in drinking water systems which are where the water comes from river, but also the groundwater. So there are quite problematic issues with that. And
Mr. Dalhuizer, sorry to interrupt, but 5 more minutes.
Oh, 5 more minutes, but I will manage my time. And we have local and super regional cooperation, which is although we are a country of working together, it is sometimes a very difficult issue, finding each other. And the last one is increasing the knowledge base on drought issues. And so for policy and research management programs, for example, Wageningen research. So this is report came out this year. And how did the ministry respond? Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, Their main is the extra investment in better water storage. This came from the Delta program. But also some messages from the Dutch government to water use, to save water, to use irrigation, to stop irrigate in some times of drought, but also for the consumers to save water. And the last thing is, which is a very short-term investment in better water storage. So this was my very short presentation. This is complementary to the presentation of Tina ten Winkle. She will go into more practical and more interesting projects which dealing with drought. So I will stop here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dalhuizen, for your view and the Dutch take on the issue. I would like to give the floor now to Mrs. de Winkel. She is the water availability expert of the Acacia Water Fund. Tina, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, here we go. Oh, that's not what I wanted, but it's okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Jasper, thank you very much for asking me to show some of the Dutch examples of agricultural responses toward drought. I will just give a short introduction. Well, as mentioned, my name is Tina. I'm a water availability specialist with an economic background, and I work at Acacia Water, which is a Dutch-based research-oriented consultancy. We do have worldwide activities, so 50% of our work is within the Netherlands and 50% of it is outside the Netherlands. And from that work and from that scope of work, we do see that there is one, well, actually main problem around the globe is that we see that there is enough water year round, but our infrastructure isn't designed in a way of optimal storage and well, a kind of delayed discharge so that we can use it for irrigation in a later stage. Because what you see here is on the left hand, you see the same river as here in the middle. In the middle, this is in Uganda. And in the middle, there was a rainfall event. But after a few days, after 2 or 3 days, the water was all gone. And we were here in the situation at the right. So this is our main focus wherever we are, if we are in the Netherlands or, well, somewhere in Africa. Our work focuses on, okay, to equal it out and to store water to use it year round. Well, in this short presentation, I would like to focus on 2 of our main projects we're doing at the moment, and which has a focusing on piloting innovations to save more water and to work on better storage, as Mr. Dalhuizen presented it. This is one of the scopes of our policy in the Netherlands. So in the north, you see the island of Texel, and in the south, you see the province of Zeeland, and there we're located in Philippines. And I will just shortly take you through 2 of our projects with a practical, just to show you the practical work in the field. So, well, at the island of Texel, there is no water supply at the island. So there's rain-fed agriculture, irrigation is prohibited, abstraction of groundwater or surface water is prohibited. And because of the very erratic rainfall regime, the farmers are, well, yeah, they have to do it with what's there, and that results in very much yield losses. So they take into account a complete yield loss every 5 years. But on the island, it's not only drought, it is also salinization, which is a big problem. So because it's in the middle of the sea and its geological time frame, there's a lot of salt groundwater, So even if groundwater would if abstraction would have been available, it would have been big of a problem. So from the farmers, there is a high demand for irrigation water. And that's what you see here. This is one of our projects earlier in 2013 at the same island of Texel. And here on the left, you see wheat. It is a little bit of a bad picture, but it is, you know, you can see it. On the left, you see wheat, which is irrigated. And on the right, you see the wheat, which isn't irrigated. And there is a irrigation water basin over here at the top. I don't know actually if you see my mouse, but so this is one of the examples, and here you have another example which is with flower bulbs. Here at the front of the picture you see the yields with water at the island of Texel, and at the back of the picture you see the water with the yields without water. So there is a very high demand of water, and regarding to that we found, or actually 7 farmers found us, and together we set up a project on 200 hectares, which is a pilot study to save, store and reuse the rainfall water. But it is a small island and yields are already very low because, or well, lower than what we see on the mainland. So where to store the water? Because the water is valuable, but the space is also very valuable.
Tina,
So
5 more minutes.
Yes, okay, thank you. So where to store it? We thought about underground storage of the water. We take the water from the drains and then we store it underground in a saline groundwater environment. And if you start to infiltrate the fresh water, then a freshwater bubble starts to grow. And well, this is the main idea. So here you see how to catch it, here to see how to store it, and then at the end, after a year, after 1 or 2 years, if you've stored it and a big bubble is there, you can use it for irrigation. So this is where we go. It's a little bit in the north of the island, and we start at 2 pilot sites. And as you see, it's very close to the sea. So we do have very high salinity rates in the groundwater, which is very challenging. But that's also very good. And now we just started. We started a month ago. And with the first field work and the geophysical measurements are taken, which will be used for the design of the pilots and the systems where to go with the water. Then we go to the second example, which is more in the south, and this is Zeeland. The exact location is Philippines, and there is no water supply as well in this region. And as there is no water supply, high groundwater salinity is also present. And as you see in the the overview map, there these both locations in the Netherlands are very dry. So we have drought and we have salinization, and there's no there are no possibilities for freshwater supply. And also in this area where there's a lot of arable farming, there is a very high demand in the early summer. And after 2018, which was dry, 2019, which was dry, and we had a lot of yield losses. In 2020, the farmers, they just said, okay, let's the boats come and please serve us with fresh water. So that's what they did. They transported with water with boats to with ships to the south of the Netherlands, which the farmers had to pay 3 to 7.5 euros per cubic meters. So if you think of 20 millimeters for 1 hectare of irrigation per irrigation event, that will make 600 to 1,500 euros per hectare, which is a lot. And at this, in this project, we work on a subsurface drip irrigation, because there are some of the places they do have fresh water sources. And as you saw in my previous slide, that the water is very valuable. So if you do irrigate, if you have water, then you want to give it in an efficient way. And with the drip irrigation, it is able, you're able to save 25 to 50% of water The drip lines are at 40 centimeters below surface, so they can stay there for a couple of years, which reduces the costs and makes the investment more attractive for the farmers. And well, the roots are of course longer, and the capillary rise helps the water towards the roots as well. So what we have seen in 2019 that the potato yields were 20% above the regional yields. Less water was used. The farmers they really have this this feeling of reduced risk of yield loss, which is very good. Of course, is good for their business, and also which is good for the Water Framework Directive is that the use of nutrients is minimized by using these drip lines, because we don't only irrigate, we also fertigate. So we put the fertilizers with the water through the drip lines. So this is the empty field, and here we are with the nice yields for last year. Well, this is our main goal, that we have happy farmers and which are really able to adapt towards drought, and that we hope to in future with these projects to help innovation and have also support the farmers and the governments, also the water authorities, with the implementation of the policies given by the government. So
Okay.
that's it.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Winkel. I would like to go to the audience first. We have two more round-up presentations of Professor Trader and of Mr. Shibilic. I know that we have a few farmers as well in the audience. I didn't see too many questions. Is there already something that the audience wants to ask to the presenters at this very moment? Because if so, I would like to give room to that first. But if everybody is satisfied and happy with the presentations, I'm thinking, for instance, of I think that Mr. Pot is a farmer. I think that Edo Oldenziel. I'm actually sure that Edo is a farmer. Any questions from your side? Bas Zegers, maybe a question from your side. But if nobody speaks up, then I would like to propose to follow the planned program. And then, Mr. Trader, I would like to give the floor back to you.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking for my presentation moment. You see my...
yes, we can follow, yes.
Sorry.
I see your desktop.
Can you see my presentation?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, it's good. Moment. Sorry, because I have... how many minutes do I have?
You have 10 minutes. But we're running out the program a little bit, but so if you could...
Because my colleague has a presentation too that now I am asking. The future challenges connected with agriculture, drawing Polish proposed. I would like to show what we are doing and what we want to do. You know, this picture is from 2015, the strawberry without irrigation. You know, it is a unique picture, but of course, for me, when I started the job, maybe it was unique, but now I know that in every 2-3 years we'll have this kind of situation. What we want to do, what we are doing, we want to improve the water use efficiency by increasing rainfall efficiency and reducing evapotranspiration. We want to implement integrated irrigation management strategy on farms. Of course, in our institute, we are working in biological progress. It is not my topic, but we are testing the new cultivars for cultivation under condition of climate changes, and we analyze of physiological or biochemical and molecular mechanism of drought tolerance. That is the main objectives. About the mulching, we increase rainfall efficiency by mulching. You know, of course, we are using sawdust, wood chips, but when we have good results with water, sometimes it's a problem with rodents. That this is a problem for farm. When we prepare small experiment with small areas, no problem. But for big farms, sometimes the rodents are the biggest problem than lack of water. We try increase soil water retention by application of organic matter or bentonite. It's a costly but some effective. I would like to show results about.
Please take the floor.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so there were some presentations on systemic or engineering methods by other presenters. So I'm happy to focus on soil, and I would like to. I will only present 4 slides and want to give a bit broader context of these drought issues. In former understanding, the role of soils was limited to production function. Now we recognize at even global, European, national level, other functions of soil that are related to environmental safety, for example. But this production function will not be less important, even more important in close and farther future, both global and local levels, because population is increasing. Even in Europe, if it is rather stable, global population is dramatically increasing, and urbanization is increasing. So the pool of available soils for production will be decreasing. This is obvious. So and these soil resources are very important to food security at global, European, and even local level, and to also to provide some independence in case of such events like recently related to COVID. We have to be aware that there are very ambitious targets set in Europe for next years, like in these strategies like farm to fork, biodiversity strategies, or also plant mission for soil, which is reduction of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, even by half, which is carbon sequestration, increasing area of nature protection, and sustaining healthiness of soils. At the same time, there is increasing global population, more severe droughts, and urbanization that reduces soil resources. So these targets, these goals might look contradictory. In this context, soils, I think, will be in a central point for many activities aimed at achieving all these ambitious targets. What are the measures to achieve them? Of course, precise nitrogen, phosphorus, and water management to reduce overall use of these resources. Biological development, so improved cultivars, more yield, better yield, and more resistance to drought. develop highly efficient, low toxic pesticides, mainly biopesticides. Good optimized manure treatment technologies to enable broader use of them in agriculture to instead of synthetic fertilizers, and avoid also the emerging risks from manure. Biofertilizers to increase water retention in soil in connection to circularity approaches. And what I want to emphasize especially is agriculture that will regenerate soil functions and improve retaining water in soil. And how to make it? So we have to try to start to treat soil and a kind of organism of interlinked functions and properties, and farmers have to take care of all these properties, all these functions, to be able to meet all these challenges we are faced now. So if we lose one of these components, we lose overall soil capacity to fulfill its functions and to retain water. If we acidify,
one more minute, please. Yes, one more minute.
Thank you. If we acidify the soil, we lose soil structure. We make soil is susceptible to compaction. When we make it, it is more susceptible to erosion. If it is erodible, so we lose soil organic matter and capacity to retain water. And this can be achieved through combination of simple measures like cover crops, reduced till, regular liming, mulching, proper timing of practices. So a lot can be done through good practice in soil management. Important is also stimulating soil biological activity, because interaction between plants and microorganisms can biostimulate resistance of crops to drought.
Okay, Mr. Shibitz, thank you very much for your presentation. If you could please turn the presentation off so that we can have the interactive group discussion. I think that looking at the time, we're running out a little bit, and I hope that is okay for the participants. But I really would like to take some time for the discussion. First, giving the floor to Mr. Peter. There was a question from Peter Beltman. Peter Beltman, are you still in the call?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Could you please repeat your question, and to whom are you addressing this question?
To our Polynesian friends. I'm a retired waterboard man living here in this area with a lot of Polynesian people here working in Holland. And I'm wondering, there are so much opportunities now on these themes like water and agriculture, and it looks so much the same, too much and to low levels of water. So I wonder whether or not we could win a lot by exchange between Holland and Poland.
Okay, yes, your question is what we could do to exchange information, yes?
Yes, yes.
And that's a question to the Polish side or also to the Dutch side?
To both.
Who is willing to take up? Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I studied in Wageningen, so I really wonder if a word doesn't work together with Polish universities.
Okay, thank you very much for that question.
Okay.
Mr. Valdemar or Mr. Gregors, who of you is going to take this question?
Well, if I can start, this is a good question, very good question, but also the response is not simple, I guess. There might be different platforms, and to really interact in exchange, you would need a good platform. Of course, there are European programs, scientific programs, research programs like Horizon 2020 and Future Horizon Europe, but of course this is very competitive, and we cannot be sure that there will be a lot of projects. We hope so, but a lot of common projects to work together. And of course, they are also based on calls, very specific calls where Commission addresses some issues and expects some impact. So if we need, if you want to have interaction, I would propose that there is some platform discussion built between ministries of both countries and some scientists on exchange interaction for research-based drought resistance issues. Yeah.
Okay. So you propose to build a platform for this, Mr. Waldemar Trede. Any remarks from your side?
I think the platform is a very good idea, but when we are talking about scientific cooperation, it's quite different problem. But when we are going to the field, I think that the last my picture was about greenhouses. You know, for Polish people, the Dutch technology is the top level. We are learning 100% from Dutch growers and Dutch technologies. That I think the people from Netherlands can help us with this water recycle in greenhouses. This is I don't know. We can start from the discussion from platform, but we need technologies, and we need some pressure for our government. That now when it's a problem on the open fields, everybody are thinking about open fields, but when we want safe water and we want safe environment, we should think in parallel about covers, about plastic tunnels, about greenhouses, because in this with this technology, with no rain, we are using only water for irrigation. That I offer in my institute, that cooperation, when it's possible to improve our technology in greenhouses. Of course, technology is similar, but the drainage from Polish greenhouses is going outside. This is a problem.
So what you say is, do not focus only on the open ground, but also look at the greenhouses. I was wondering, Mr. Dalhuizen and Mrs. De Winkel, is there maybe something, because both countries are fighting with drought, but have also different situations to manage? Is there something that the Netherlands can learn from Poland? So that's a question to Mr. Dalhuizen or for Mrs. De Winkel. Both microphones are closed. If you want to answer that.
Shall I start? Yeah, we can definitely learn a lot from Poland. And Poland from the situation is different. So there's different circumstances. You can learn by experience in the open field. You can learn a lot on that side to make. If we make mistakes in the Netherlands, do not make it in Poland. In a platform could be very welcomed, I think, but also exchange of farmers, just by, for example, an online seminar like this, let them talk with each other in a way. It could also be an idea. This is what I'm thinking of, but it is I think we should explore this idea. This is very interesting.
Okay. You see openings. Yeah? That's good to hear that. Mr. Winkel?
Well, what I'm thinking of is that
from an economic perspective, it's pretty interesting to see from this starting point. You know, we do have a lot of we do have a lot of innovation already happened, and we only look at the most high-end technological how do you say it, interventions. And I think from the open field perspective, it's interesting to see which intervention and which development is really most cost efficient, and also in terms of irrigation, most water efficient. So then I think we could learn a lot from that, because sometimes mulching is the best option, or it's not always underground drip lines and very efficient fertigation systems, which cost a lot, of course. So I think from that point of view, we could learn a lot from Poland.
Okay, that's interesting to hear that there's something to learn for both sides. Yes. I hope, Mr. Beltman, that your question was answered by the extensive answers.
Thank you.
Sure, welcome. Mrs. Galicia from the Netherlands Embassy in Poland. Maybe you could, Anna, maybe you could ask your question yourself.
But you mean answer the question about the cooperation between...
No, ask the question.
Ask my question, okay. Yes, I also posed a question on the chat, the question to Professor Treder and Professor Siebielec about actually the level of knowledge of the Polish farmers, and whether they, of course, they know that the yields are less with the agricultural drought, but do they see also the need, and they are willing to cooperate also with the researchers, and also they are open for investments with the drought, which concern the drought prevention. So it would be a question to the Polish speakers.
Who's going to take it first?
I can start. About Polish farmers, you know, I think the Polish farmers are educated. It's not a problem with big farm. In big farm, we don't have problems. They are educated, they are traveling, they are watching for, not only in Europe, but around the world. But it's a problem with small farm. You know, small farm is a problem. Sometimes they are very educated, but it's an economical problem. When somebody has a 1.25 hectare of raspberries, and can we start talk about, for example, subsurface irrigation and fertigation with mixer for fertigation? Of course, the farmer don't want talk about this, because it's an economical problem. I think this is our problem. Small farm, as I said about raspberry in Lublin region, there's a lot of small farm. The farmer, they have very nice raspberry plantation when it's good weather. When it's the dry season, they are crying because they don't want put money. They don't have this kind of money for water. And when we are talking about technologies, I said that we have very, very good greenhouses, but of course we have very, very bad plastic tunnels too. It's quite different talk with farmer, with rich farmer. There is a big farmer. We can talk about the technology. With poor people, we cannot. But the farmer know that they should save water. But sometimes, of course, the farmer knows, but the valve is open. The farmer, I talk about automatic system. Everybody knows that valve should be open, but sometimes I forgot that should be closed too, and we lost water. Thank you.
Yeah, that's clear. Mr. Grzegorz, you want to add something there?
Oh, very shortly, I can only confirm what my colleague said. The awareness and implementation of water efficiency measures is very diversified. When we speak about large farms, they usually are quite efficient. We know the farms that work with ICT companies or have own ICT systems. They have own meteo stations, weather stations, measure, so can measure soil moisture. They apply precise fertilization, precise irrigation, and we can observe also manage soils, reduce tillage, proper tillage timing. So we can observe farms where they do not suffer drought at all. When in neighbor farms you got severe drought, and this is because of precise management and healthy soils. So we do not observe problem with awareness of big farmers, because these are actually companies producing crops. But small farms is another story. This is combination of economic problems and maybe a bit lower awareness.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you very much for that answer. There's another question coming in from the chat, and it's coming from Mr. Apkar. Mr. Apkar, you want to ask the question yourself? Or shall I ask that for you? You're not opening the microphone. So the question that we have there, I would like to ask.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Can you please ask the question directly?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to ask, very interesting presentations, and I would like to see what would be the role of the technology, like using remote sensing, including drones plus sensor data for monitoring the problem and the management solutions, you know, and to find answers to the detections and actions at the very regional and temporal models, and also to have ways for predictions like long-term management. I would like to hear if there are some also experiences on this. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Apkar, to whom would you direct that question? To the Dutch side, to the Polish side?
That is to all of, regarding the irrigation, that is the soil, management, as well as also the Dutch colleagues for their experiences in the islands, maybe, or yeah.
Okay, so the question is
open to all the presenters. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question, Mr. Apkar. So the question is, what do the presenters think about the use of remotely sensed data, including the sensors for monitoring soil, crops, and drought, and so forth? Who would like to start off and would like to take that question first?
I can say.
Yes, Mr. Trader.
It is sometimes very useful, but when we have huge farm, the remote sensing technology is useful. But for example, when you have small farm, you know, this remote sensing is not useful for this time because of resolution of the visualization. But of course, sensors, different kind of sensors can be useful. But you know, it's a very difficult problem when we have, for example, small farm or big farm. It's a question: how many sensors? You know, how many sensors? In which place I should put the sensor? That for every crop or every farm we have to decide, because they cost money. But of course, every tools are useful when we have with one side somebody who offered the solution, the person has a knowledge, and farmer want to learn.
Right. Right, yes. Okay, thank you, Mr. Trader. And maybe Mr. De Winkel from Acacia Water Fund, I think you're very positive about using all those equipment, right?
Well, yes, of course. Yeah, we do. So sorry, we do use a lot of
remote sensing and especially sensors for monitoring. We do use it a lot in our pilots, of course, because that is very knowledge driven and we really have to monitor what's happening in the field. As Mr. Trader just said, that I think it's there are some very important things. First is that you need a good monitor plan, because of course we can put in a lot of sensors into the ground, which will give very nice graphs, but if you don't know what you're looking at, it's a little bit it becomes a little bit difficult. But what I think is even more important is that it will be in connection to like, you know, the monitoring is very detailed and it will give you very detailed information, and you always have to connect it to a much higher level of vision of where you're going, in what kind of area are you. For example, in the north of the Netherlands, we do a lot of monitoring of salinization, in the salinization in the soil moisture, because we would love to have a bigger overview of what's happening with the salinization in that area, if it is increasing, etc. So yeah, 2 points. It is interesting. It takes a leap, all the technology, but make sure that you're doing it in a good way, and that also the end users are always connected to what you're doing, because we can store a lot of data, but if you don't know what to do with it, we have to have a goal with the data.
Right. Mr. Abkar, I hope that your question was answered by those answers.
No, thank you. It was to the point, the challenges regarding the small scale farmers, but in this case, we may use the drones plus sensors. We can even go up to 1 centimeter resolution, but that is that's the challenge for. But thank you very much for all the answers.
Sure. You're welcome. I think we're slowly but surely coming to the end of this meeting. Unless when there is one maybe final question from one of the participants, and if not, then first of all, I would like to thank all the participants, the participating speakers. Let me put it like that. Mrs. Katarzyna Dellis Selak, sorry, for the Department of the Water Management from the Ministry of the Maritime Economy. Mrs. Tine de Winkel, expert at Acacia Waterfront, Mr. Grzegorz Siebielic from the Institute of Soil Cultivation, a senior research analyst, and Professor Waldemar Trader for the Institute of Horticulture in Puave, and in Puave, did I say it right now? I'm not sure where this is located. But please correct me. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And Mr. Jasper Dalhuizen from the Ministry of Agriculture from the Netherlands. And by thanking the presenters of today, we're coming to an end of the 24th webinar that we organized since the half of March. In total, we gathered 1,259 participants in this serial. So they are very well viewed. Many participants. Leaves this to thank all the participants as well today for joining. And I wish you all a good summer holidays and hope to see you in a healthy state after the summer. Thank you very much and wish you a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.